Aloha from TicTac Island. My name is Chris, and my wife and I are proud owners of vestibule number 675, our little slice of mobile paradise. In this series of videos, I'm covering tips, tricks, camper modifications, and gear reviews that might be of interest to vestibule owners as well as other small campers. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, stick around, we'll get started in a moment.
That's it. I'm in.
In our last video, I covered changes we made to the outside of the camper. In this video, I'm going to cover about a dozen changes we made to the inside of the camper, and at the very end, I'll throw in 2 bonus exterior changes we made that I forgot to include in the last video. Not all of these changes were our own idea. Some of the ideas did come from the Facebook groups, and if I can find the original source, I'll post a link to it below the video. I'm going to start at the front of the camper and work our way back. In the Facebook groups, a lot of owners complained about both dust and bugs getting in through the front vents. The solution was to use Screen Mend, which is a heat-activated screen repair kit, as well as some 3M filter material. The combination effectively eliminates both bugs and dust getting into the camper. Another way the bugs were getting into the camper were through the small holes where the aluminum support rods at the side windows and the portholes come through the camper. One of the solutions suggested by the groups were to use some furniture pads. We took 2 1-inch felt furniture pads, stuck them together, and cut a slit which allows it to sit over the bar and effectively block the hole in the window. Another complaint that people on the forums had was that when you opened or closed the doors, the side tables would rattle. To correct that, I used 2 pieces of 3M's dual lock fastener tape, putting one on the bottom of the table and a small piece on the door. When I lower the table, I make sure the 2 fasteners are locked together, and that effectively stops the rattle. Staying at the door, my wife and I both felt that the handles had a little bit of a sharp edge and were uncomfortable to hold. To fix that, I used some paracord weaving techniques to effectively cover the handle to give it a nice comfortable grip. I'll post a link below to the video that I used to make the handle. The one thing I did was I did remove the entire handle from the door to make my life a lot easier when I did that. The quarter-turn knobs to help secure the door and keep it watertight are great. One of the issues that owners had complained about was that sometimes would catch the bedding as you opened and closed the quarter turns. There were a couple different suggestions out there on the forums, but we opted for a fairly simple one. I cut a small rectangle out of an old cutting board that would fit between the door frame and the bed, which prevents the cam from catching the bedding. I cut a small notch to allow it to be stored where the porthole cover is stored behind the door. On more than one occasion, while I was sitting up doing crossword puzzles, I accidentally depressed the CO2 test button with my head. To fix that, I got a small strip of aluminum that I bent to go around the face of the detector with a small hole that still allows you to activate the test button. I haven't activated the test button since I installed it. We bought a cover for the Max air fan to help block some of the light in the morning. It's fairly simple to install. You just have to remove the white bezel on the fan, install some magnets, reinstall the bezel. Magnets within the cover allows it to clip up to the fan. We had vestibule install both a 12-volt and a USB jack in the bookshelves in the headboard. I upgraded the USB jack to one that included a USB-A and a USB-C jack. It was fairly straightforward to do. All of the USB jacks for RVs and marine use are all a standard size and use the same lugs that are used on the wiring in the camper. The one thing to note is that vestibule wraps some tape around the base of the jack, and that has to be removed completely before you remove the existing jack. We like the table that comes with the camper when in couch mode. However, sometimes it was a little too high when we just wanted a cup of coffee or a cocktail. So using some 1/2-inch Baltic birch, I built a small table and then used a small dowel to lower the height of the table to a comfortable position when we're sitting there reading or doing crossword puzzles. We wanted to have a nice, convenient, simple first aid kit with things like Band-Aids, aspirin, Tums or Rolaids. We happened to find a small first aid kit at Home Depot for a few dollars, which we augmented by throwing a few extra items, and using that 3M dual lock fasteners, we attached it in the pass-through so we can get to it either from outside through the galley or while we're inside in the cabin. At one of the Northeast vestibule rallies, someone suggested putting a curtain over the rear window, which helps keep the camper cool or warm depending on the season. We bought some Reflectix insulating sheets, cut at the size of the rear window, and we used some specialty suction cups and mounts to attach it to the window. It definitely helps keeps the camper cool in the summer and keeps it warmer when we're running the small heater we have. It also helps with privacy so people can't see into the galley when we're not at the campsite. Lastly, for safety and peace of mind, I had an unused dash camera that I attached to the rear window that I power using one of the USB jacks in the pass-through. As I mentioned at the start of the video, there are 2 bonus exterior modifications that we made. My wife is not as tall as I am and had trouble reaching the handle when the galley door was open. Using a video I found online, I made a monkey's fist with a loop with some heavy cord. When we open the hatch, we make sure the monkey's fist is looped over the handle and it allows for easy pull down of the galley hatch. The bat wings are great to help keep wind and rain out of the galley, but I was afraid that the metal hooks on the bungee cords that they come with might scratch the camper. So I used some leftover bungee cord that I had from my kayaks, ran it through the grommet, and tied a knot on each end. Does the same job as the original bungee cord, but without the metal hooks. That's it for this video. I'll post links to any of the products I mentioned down below. If you have any of your own ideas, modifications, and changes you made, or other comments, feel free to post them below. Till next time, happy camping.